Today I'm visiting the George W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum, located on the campus of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Located just off of the North Central Expressway, the most convenient parking for the museum is in a small paved lot on the north side of SMU Boulevard, directly across from the museum's entrance. This is a rather small lot and tends to fill up quickly, so plan on arriving early. Like his father's museum in College Station, the George W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum is administered by the National Archives and Records Administration. It is our newest presidential library, opening on April 25, 2013, and chronicles the life of our 43rd president. Standing in the courtyard of the museum are two bronze statues of George H.W. Bush, our 41st president, and George W. Bush, our 43rd president. They were only the second, father and son, to hold the office of President of the United States, following John Quincy Adams and his father, John Adams. President Bush is an avid baseball fan and once served as the managing general partner of the Texas Rangers. A number of baseball artifacts are on display in the museum, including baseballs autographed by Mickey Mantle and Sandy Koufax, and a bat autographed by 46 of the 62 living members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Shortly after 9 a.m. on September 11, 2001, while attending an event at an elementary school in Florida, the President's Chief of Staff, Andy Card, whispered into the President's ear that America is under attack. At the conclusion of the event, President Bush was whisked away to the safety of Air Force One. Not knowing if it was safe to return to Washington or not, the President eventually landed at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, where he used this secure telephone to confer with the Vice President and other members of his staff. The President later left the Air Force Base and returned to Washington later that evening. On September 14, 2001, President Bush made a visit to Ground Zero, where he used this bullhorn to proclaim to the people of New York and to the world that the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon. On October 30, 2001, President Bush returned to New York and threw out the first pitch at Game 3 of the World Series at Yankee Stadium. On display here is the pullover that President Bush wore that night, along with the ball that he threw and the pitching rubber that was on the mound. Like most presidential museums, the George Bush Museum features a replica of the Oval Office. Here visitors can have their photos taken as they sit behind an exact replica of the Resolute desk. President Bush held a total of 13 state dinners while in the White House, including one on May 7, 2007, in honor of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. On display here is the formal attire worn by President and Mrs. Bush for the occasion, along with the official invitation and the official menu for the event. President Bush had a special relationship with the crew and staff of Air Force One. This was demonstrated on Thanksgiving 2003 when the President made a surprise visit to Baghdad to visit the troops. In this special Air Force One display is the mission patch for the Baghdad trip. Also on display are the flight jackets worn by President and Mrs. Bush, and a passenger window taken from the plane and presented to the President by the Air Force One crew and staff. I ended my visit to the George Bush Museum by walking down the street for a quick stop at Gerald J. Ford Stadium, which is home to the SMU Mustangs. The stadium is named for a billionaire banker who funded most of the construction costs and should not be confused with President Gerald R. Ford. So it's here that I conclude my visit to the Bush Presidential Library and Museum. If you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up below. If you want to keep up with my travels, please subscribe. But for now, it's time for me to head on down the road and see what's around the bend.